Well, welcome to Sent and Bent. This is the Grind Hard Plumbing Company podcast, and we realized that we just kind of threw Sam in on the channel one day and never really talked about who he was or why he was there. It was just like, hey, this is Sam, and he's building the cop car. So, who are you?
Yeah, the cop car was totally the first time Sam ever showed up.
Basically. It's like the first time maybe like people noticed that it was the same person.
Yeah.
So, I'm your friend, Edwin. I'm also friends with Ethan. So you guys were building and started inviting me up, and I can't say no to that, and we've been boogieing now for like a year and a half.
I think the first time we invited you up was when we were racing the Brat versus the Tacoma, like way back, the first time. Okay. That was like before you were really a part of it, but that was the first time that you came up while we were doing grind hard stuff. Yeah, I'm pretty sure the first thing you worked on was the Triumph. You came up when we were working on that and just helped build like brackets and stuff for it. But you're right, it might have been the Odyssey, but I'm trying to remember what it was.
Yeah, I don't know which one we built first because they were around the same time, but it was like back and forth on those two, and then the first time I was like, oh shoot, I'm doing something productive, was like turboing the Ute. That's where I felt like I was awesome. Like, all right, now we're doing something. Yeah. I'm not just making brackets and like breaking stuff. Up until that point, it was just breaking stuff and making brackets.
Yeah. Yeah, because it seems like, you were the obvious fit, like out of everyone we know, because you send things as hard as us, often to the point of no return, and like you have a huge mechanic background and can fix everything, and just like, it just works.
Yeah, it was bound to happen. It just took a little bit more time.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, because you've been flipping cars I feel like when I first started getting to know you, every single time I saw you, you had a different car.
Yeah, it's probably still the case.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, almost every week you drive up here in a different car.
I've seen comments from time to time like, what is that car in the background or this car in the background? Just don't mind any of them as they change. That's just all me. These guys have the same vehicle forever. Any new vehicles are probably something I brought. Yep. Other than the obvious, like, crazy stuff we're building.
No. What got you into flipping?
I just had really crappy cars and wanted better cars. And then after you fix like one thing, you're like, oh, well, that wasn't so bad. And then you sell that car and you take on a bigger project. And then so I'd buy a car that was like something more that I wanted more, but needed more work. And then fix that and get more and more confidence. And then the entire goal was just to upgrade my car. This is the whole reason I did it. And then after like 4 or 5 of them, I was like, shoot, now I'm just having fun and making money. And then after that, I just was like, okay, now what can I own? Could I own like all the Audis? And I tried like a bunch of different Beamers, and now for the last few years I've wanted to I've basically not done it intentionally. It's just stuff that I want to, like my 335 or something, like I want to own that, or like the WRX, and then I'm like, oh, I don't really want to own this. I should sell this. I'm pretty sure everyone I bring up or I tell you guys, I'm like, all right, I'm like gonna keep this for a while.
Yeah.
And then that lasts like 3 months, and it's not always just the profit. It's also just like, oh, this is not what I thought. Like I think I brought it up too. I'd feel like really bad if I paid like full market retail for most of the cars I bought. I would have been like, oh, not what I thought.
Especially the WRX. Like I drove that. I've been into Subarus forever, and I've always wanted it. I mean, not really. Like I never was planning on buying a WRX, but it's like the best Subaru there is. So I was like, oh yeah, this is a sweet car. And then like by the time I actually drove one, which was like a couple months ago, and it was the one that you had, it's actually like a pretty new WRX in the grand scheme of things. And, like, it's terrible.
Yeah.
Compared to a lot of other cars I've driven now, it's absolutely just terrible.
It's just not in the daily driving class, because I drive, like, it's 60 miles from my house to here. So 60 miles in the WRX is, like, you're done in a few days. You don't want to keep doing that. But, yeah, so that's how we got into that. And I like Beamers a lot, so, I have a few more we could do there. Still, there's some open.
A few Beamers you haven't owned yet.
I haven't owned yet that I want to own. That would be sweet, so.
Yeah.
That's awesome. What's the dumbest thing you've done in a car?
Surprisingly, it's probably on camera. It's probably done here. I mean, you can't talk. Like, I hit the Ute into a tree, and my brain before that was like, you don't hit cars into stuff. And then, like, that was pretty casual, and I was like, oh, okay. And so it's definitely been here. I don't think, like, in a normal car, certainly not on the road, I've done anything super, super dumb.
Wasn't there a story about you when you had a 944 like drifting a corner kind of accidentally at like 70 miles an hour? Or something?
And I don't know what happened there. So
so that's not sketchy.
That one worked out to be mechanical failure is what they wrote down. Didn't get a ticket, but I mean that was probably like on the road the sketchiest thing. But I only hit a curb really in the end of that. So
okay, that's not bad.
I think you said you flipped a car, right? You rolled a car.
Yeah, I've flipped a Subaru.
And you have not rolled a car.
I have not.
Have you rolled a side by side though?
Yes.
Yeah. You rolled by your dad's
first day
side-by-side.
driving a side by side. I rolled it because I
Nice.
was like, oh yeah, like you can do donuts so easily, but it has so much grip on those knobby tires that eventually it just grips all of a sudden and you're over.
That's the thing. That is, I have actually spun out. The Porsche is probably the car I spun out in the most, and that's exactly it. Is you're coming out of a drift, and then you don't do that well, and it grips too much, and then you spin out the other direction. Once you get that grip, but it doesn't roll.
Yeah.
Like,
944 is not gonna roll.
Yeah, it's not gonna roll. That's not happening. Even hitting the curb at like whatever the end speed was, 30, 40, it just like popped, and was like, oh well, that wasn't that bad.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
How did you roll your car? Haven't you rolled two?
No, I've only rolled one car.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. Surprisingly. And my first thought after I rolled it was like, oh, that was fun. Let's do that again.
I've been like waiting. I haven't rolled anything. Like literally nothing. It's
like, except everything on the channel.
No, but like
send you like 3 times.
Yeah, so those little small things. I mean, like the Odyssey, a side-by-side vehicle, like something like...
Dude, if you can roll the Odyssey, I'm going to be impressed.
I thought I was going to, Indo, and I was like almost let down and didn't. It's like, this is it. Mid-air, I was ready for it, and then it was let down. You know?
Yeah. But yeah, no, I rolled a Subaru just... I used to just like drift around everywhere. I drive like I spent too much time watching the WRC and playing Forza, and then I just go out and like drive around on the Forest Service roads at stupid speeds and just drift all the corners. And so I was actually coming up here I was living in Coeur d'Alene at the time, and I was coming up here to visit my mom, and I was drifting around on the dirt roads, and I drifted an intersection, so it was a T intersection, and it was dirt on both sides, and I just drifted it and went super wide. And it was a combination of factors that caused it to flip. 1, super deep ditch, like 4-foot deep ditch. 2, there was a giant like washout in the edge of the ditch. So normally like it slopes off evenly. There was like this huge crater where it was just a straight drop off. Mm-hmm. So my back tire went straight into that crater and like
just
caught.
Stopped instantly.
And the third factor is that tire was also significantly low on air. So as soon as it hit, it debeated, and then the wheel just locked into that pit and just flipped into the ditch. So it like flipped kind of diagonally, went over, basically bounced off of just the hood. Like it pretty much only hit the hood and just a little bit of the windshield, and then landed like wheels facing away from the road on its side in the ditch, like that. It was completely standing on the side because the ditch was like 4 feet deep. But then I had a friend come pull me out with a truck and then drove it home.
Dang, thing's a tank.
Yeah.
I think one of the best fails Sam has done, we actually missed on camera, but I was filming. Our GoPro is so cracked up and broken from me crashing the drones constantly, and the day before I'd crashed into a puddle. And it still works, the drone and the GoPro, but it was doing this thing where it corrupted some files, and we still use that same GoPro and the same drone. I haven't done anything to it, and it works totally fine. But it was the first day we got the Triumph running good.
Okay.
And we were drifting up and down the driveway, and I had the drone right behind you, just perfect. And you just go into the corner like pretty well, and then just the steering on that thing just is like 3 turns to get it to correct. And so, but you couldn't correct in time and just plowed into Ethan's garden fence.
Yeah.
And the drone was going right around. And what did you yell? Like, oh, so funny.
I think you came around, and right as you got in front of me, I literally was like in the fence, just like arms up in the air, like this is what happens now. And I also remember there's like these wood posts on it, and so I knew like I'm gonna hit the fence guaranteed. So essentially, I just like drove head on into the fence because I was drifting and I couldn't correct enough to not like to make it around the corner. So it was like the metal fence or the wood part, the post.
Definitely hit the wire, just go through it.
It definitely looked like I just didn't even try and go straight into the fence.
Yeah, you were just straight into
it.
Yeah, that was funny.
There's so many things that have happened that we missed.
Yeah. I realized
like
you said the stupidest thing, and I just buried this one, but I totally did hit a different tree in like my second car, and it was like this is a letdown because so it was my first upgrade after the first car. Like I guess I flipped or whatever, made a little money, bought a nicer car, and I was down in Florida at the time, and I thought I don't know, probably same thing as you, playing video games and just being a dumb kid. I was like 17-ish. And I was picking my brother up from work. I was waiting on him, and I was doing these reverse 180s. That's not a thing. It's front-wheel drive, dude. I was just backing up really fast.
Reverse 180 anything.
Yeah, I'm just spinning around, right? And I had done it like 1 or 2 times. Well, my other brother was in the car this night, and I said, dude, check this out. And so I hadn't planned this. I hadn't pulled up where I should have been. I was just in the parking lot that I'd done it before. And so I throw a reverse 180 and took out a tree. You know, they have those tiny little, they're like little Walmart trees.
Decorative trees,
yeah. Like, it's not a big tree. Totally just sideswiped that. Didn't even break the glass. That's how small this tree is. But then there's a curb around the tree, so it pops up over the curb, and then there's no tree. So I get out and stand the tree back up. So I'm like, are you able to drive? So we just stood the tree up and we're like, we should probably go now. I don't know what the situation is here, but I don't want to be part of it.
Oh, that's funny.
So yeah, I guess I did hit another tree first.
Nice.
That Subaru that I flipped, that car went through, I mean, like, every car I've ever owned has had a very rough life, pretty much. Well, except for my van. But even that one's been jumped a couple times by accident. But, no, that Subaru was definitely the worst because it was when I was in college, and it was a super cheap car. I paid like $1,400 for it in the first place. It was just a legacy wagon. But I think the first thing I did is I went out drifting in a snowstorm and, like, pulled out of the dorm's parking lot. My roommate was in the car with me. We were just going out to have fun. First corner after the parking lot, just drifted it straight into a telephone pole. Right into the driver's side door, or like right in the seam between the door and the fender. So it actually didn't do that much damage because it hit in like a really hard part. Just broke the mirror. And then I think it was the same day. Like, went right around the corner, went out to an empty parking lot on campus, and I was doing donuts in this parking lot for like a while. I got some really nice, all-wheel drive, almost cyclone donuts going. And then I was like, okay, take off from the parking lot. And this parking lot was like a dirt parking lot, and it just like had little, the cement barrier things around the outside of it. And there were gaps in those in a few places. And one of the, like, on each end there was a spot that there was a gap to leave the parking lot. And then there was another place where there was gaps, but there was a cable between the barriers. Mm-hmm. And so, like, especially after doing a ton of donuts, I was a little disoriented. Like, I knew which way I was going, but I didn't recognize that I wasn't going out one of the entrances. So I just full speed drove straight under the cable. It went up, the cable came over the hood, smacked the windshield, and somehow didn't break it, and ripped both the windshield wipers off. And I was like, oh, whoops!
You just got clotheslined.
Yeah, backed out of that, and then went to like a bigger, emptier parking lot and did some more donuts. But so there was that, and then another.
Stop you. Yeah, like, I just need a different parking lot.
Exactly. Didn't stop at all.
This up.
And then another time that same winter, I went out. I don't think I was going out specifically to go drifting. I was just going out somewhere for like dinner with my friends or whatever. We were gonna, I don't know, get some food, and we pulled out of the dorm parking lot, and it was like, this was like a super slippery day, like freezing rain on top of fresh snow, sort of like super icy. I did try to do like a tiny baby drift just for fun, and it just went, like, it was the slowest little baby drift you could ever do out of the parking lot, and it just went, and just kept going, and I like nosed into a truck parked there. So, hit a truck.
That was all on the same day?
No, this was all the same car. That was the same winter.
Okay.
But that was like probably the same week. It was a hard week for that car. So there was all of that. And then, yeah, that one didn't do a ton of damage. Just kind of smashed in one of the headlights, I think, and like left a dent that big on the truck's bumper. And then, well, eventually I rolled it. But before that, I hit a bear with the same car. That car, so telephone pole, cable, truck, bear, and then finally rolled it. And it still ran and drove.
Did you get rid of it after you rolled it?
Yeah, after I rolled it, I was like, I mean, it still ran fine, but it was a $1,000 car in the first place. So it was like, there was no way it was worth trying to straighten anything out.
Every one of those accidents was deducting some value.
Yeah, exactly.
You were buying the price down.
Yeah. So I went and bought another Legacy exactly like it for $350 like the next week. And then I just sold it for scrap.
How many Legacies have you had? Or super, like...
Legacies, I've had 3 of basically the same generation of Legacy wagon. I had 3 of those. So I had the blue one, that was the one that went through hell. The purple one, which went through a little bit less hell. And then I gave it to my mom, and she drove it for another like 30,000 miles. That one had 336,000 miles at last count. And then I had my white one, which was the turbo wagon. Yeah, but you've owned like 15 Beamers.
Yeah,
or more.
A lot. I'd have to like downgrade my like list. I'd be like, what if I owned only 5 of?
Yeah, right. Toyotas.
Saw.
Do you have like some kind of spreadsheet or something?
But I don't know if I should keep it. I don't know if that's like something you need on record. I have like a loose idea, and I have like one thing I do have is I have like folders of all the images from selling the cars, because I thought it'd be cool at one point to just be like, here's like one photo of every car and just put it like on like a little collage.
Yeah, that'd be a sweet, like, put it up in the garage or something.
Yeah,
that'd
just like awesome. Some obscene amount. Like, I don't even know how many it is, but it's a lot. And
like over 40?
Yeah, probably. I think I've owned 6 X5s, just X5s. Just cars.
Just one model, one brand.
5 of the same body style, so it gets out of hand fast.
Yeah.
So to everything you've driven though, what's your favorite?
Honestly, I've driven a lot more than I've owned too, because like I have a big family, all their cars, and then worked on a lot of cars, and that's a tough one. It just like really depends on what you're doing with the car. I daily drive the X5. I found that I like a little bit larger of a vehicle. I don't know why. I thought, oh, that's lame, like bad gas mileage. Why would you do that? I had cars for so many years. Once I started driving the X5s, I was like, shoot, this is really comfy. Not the worst gas mileage, all-wheel drive, and so that's kind of like, if I just had to pick one car, it'd probably be like an X3 or an X5, something like mid-size-ish, which sounds crazy because I love cars that go fast and, you know, that kind of stuff too, but for the versatility of it, it's still fun, and you can still get insane. I debate every day, like, I should just get 400 or 500 horsepower out of this thing, and then it will really round the corners of everything I need. Yeah, I'll do everything I need, so... that would probably be it, honestly, for stuff I could actually afford.
The TTs are pretty fun too, right?
The TTs are really, really cool. That. They do get old kind of fast too, because it's so small.
Right.
Like, it is really, really tiny. And I'm a small person. I can't imagine, like...
Yeah, being a big...
getting in and out of the TT all the time.
And you couldn't bring your dogs in there or anything.
But it's a good thing you bring that up, because that might be number 2, and those are like the complete opposite ends of the spectrum. Like, the all-road I thought would be a good compromise, and it's just like...
all roads suck.
Yeah, it's not really. Like, there's a lot of like luxury, I guess, but you can get that in like a base Beamer.
Yeah, and it's surprisingly, like, I have an all-road right now with the 4.2 V8 in it, and it's surprisingly unfun to drive.
Yeah.
It's very comfortable. It's extremely quiet. It has a lot of power, but like even with the traction control all the way off, you cannot drift. It's like
I think it's just too much in the middle. It's not sporty and small, and it's not big and like you could tow something or go camping like really far off the trail.
And it gets
like,
terrible mileage.
Yeah, exactly.
Terrible.
It's not good gas mileage. It's just like, you know.
Yeah.
Like family car.
It's an unreliable legacy.
Unreliable legacy.
Well, but with like 3 times the horsepower. So like, but it should be fun to drive. But honestly, my old Legacies were more fun.
Yeah.
Like
the thing that makes it better than Legacy. This is the one thing that makes any car better than a Subaru is that when you're driving down the road, you don't hear like the whistling noise.
Yeah.
The wind whistling in Subarus is literally like
it's
it
terrible.
held me back forever. New Subarus figured it out. The whole like, oh, we don't put a door jamb on it. And you just hear wind. And so like one of my friends like bought it brand new off the lot. Like I don't know what it's Forester or something. We're driving in it and it was like a 10 or something. It's like a 2010 at the time. This is years back, and you still heard it. It wasn't like a thing that they get worn out. Like no, that's how it was built. They do that. That's out the gate.
That's how Subaru makes them cheaper. Is they don't spend all the money on sound deadening and making it quiet. And, But the Audi is extremely quiet. That's what's really nice about like Audis and Beamers and stuff.
That's part of what keeps me at the Euros. It's such a small inconvenience. I guess I'm just that nitpicky. I'm like.
Well, if you're driven that many cars, then it's like you can have whatever car you want because you're going to buy it cheap, fix it, and sell it eventually. Then you might as well have something that extra level of comfort is a big deal.
Yeah, that breaks
I've been driving my truck my whole life.
Yeah, I was about to bring that up.
I was in your car just driving to, well, my truck was getting worse. Honestly, they just broke the glass or whatever. But back to Snowmobile into my back window, so that was good. But when you were driving me back to the glass place, I was like, dang, this is nice, like leather, heated seats, like you get this amazing like view of the road, like let alone how much better of an easier to drive car it is. It's like, dang, I've been driving a stick shift truck with nothing in it for my whole life.
Yeah, I was gonna bring that up because like, what's the craziest thing you've done in a car? We glossed over yours, dude. This guy's hit like 20 things. I hit 3 or 4 things, dude.
And meanwhile, Edwin here's driven one truck his entire life.
I don't know. I've done so much stupid stuff on my dirt bike growing up, but like the truck, I don't know.
This is how I feel about it. I feel like for you, driving was really practical, and then you showed up at my house and you're like, I got a Beamer. And then everything changed. This is right before Grindhard started.
Yeah, that's
and it was
true.
just super practical. Like you just drove a truck to drive somewhere.
Yeah, exactly. And then, I mean, it's not fast at all. It's not good at like wheeling or anything. It's like kind of the worst truck in all factors you could have. It's a stick shift. It's a 1500. It's just boring. But
it's got the tiniest V8 there is.
Yeah.
Is it a 1500?
Yeah.
So you can't even feel like, dude, I could tow the world.
No.
Yeah. You can tow some things, but
yeah, like towing my drift car home, I was like, shoot. I was like, this is like barely cutting it just for this little drift car. But the drift car was really fun. And like, I mean, I do like donuts in parking lots and empty intersections and stuff. But like, I don't really do anything that silly. Haven't caused any serious damage. But yeah, I mean, with dirt bikes though, just like constantly causing serious damage.
Yeah.
I broke my leg 3 places into my growth plate. I mean, I've done all kinds of crashes, street raced my friend's Subarus, and
did you win?
Only because I didn't slow down for the corner. I won, and then it's like this in Clark Fork. It's cement and then a gravel corner, and he got the jump on me because I kind of stalled it a little bit, like not a full stall, but like a bump and then go, you know? And so he got the jump on me, and so I was not going to lose that race because I'd been talking trash all day because I rode from my house to his house in 2 minutes and 11 seconds, and that was the fastest I'd ever done it.
You remember it.
Oh, yeah. I was proud of that. I've been working on that because I went to his house like 2 times a day for
how far was
years.
It? Now I'm wondering, dude. This is
it was, I don't know, it's from
your parents' property.
Yeah, my parents' property to the first house on the cement.
That's a distance.
So it's a good distance.
It's a couple miles.
Yeah, I was going like 60 the entire time. It was really dumb. But I got there and I was all, amped up on adrenaline. I'm like, let's race. And he was like, okay, because we were playing, Hot Pursuit and all those video games too. And so we get up there, and then I stumble to start, and then I just take off and pass him like on the top of 6th gear in my 250, so pretty fast. And then we hit the gravel part, and I was instantly just knew I was done because it's just this steep gravel corner and then this wall of mountain cliff starting with trees and stumps and rocks.
Oh, shoot.
And so I got on the brakes as much as I could without eating it onto the road, slowed down as much as possible. And then eventually I was like, well, I'd rather go over the handlebars just myself than like hit the bike into a tree with me on it. Seemed worse. And the way I went over the handlebars, I went over this stump and land curved like this with a wall of trees behind me, like big trees that would have broken me. And the stump I went over and just plopped, and I was totally fine.
Okay.
And
back flop.
Yeah. And then Rem got out and he was like couldn't even say anything. He thought I was like broken back for sure, like something, I just hit a wall at like 60. And then he ran up and I went up and I was like, I forget what I said, it was really dumb, but I was like, it's all good. I said like something about a duck. Like I was just so out of my mind. I was like,
like borderline concussion.
Yeah, I was like, it's all good. I'm a happy ducky. I think that's what I said.
Maybe you're going for lucky duck, but like.
Oh, that's probably. I probably was going for lucky duck, but that is not what I said.
I'm a happy duck.
Yeah, so that was one of the dumber ones I've done.
That's hilarious.
So
that's always the initial, like, you get hurt really bad and you're like, I'm good, and then you're not in a minute.
Oh, I was whiplashed for
you mean like the time you smacked into a concrete
exactly
wall?
Like the time I smacked
when we were driving the Camaro. And
I was not a lucky duck.
That was
well, I mean, you still were.
Yeah.
In the grand scheme of
things.
things.
That was the most scared I've been, like, seeing someone get hurt. Like, I've seen people get pretty messed up. I've driven people to the hospital, I've been driven to the hospital myself. But that one was...
Yeah, I've had a lot of sports industry, like, injuries and seen a lot. And, like, I did parkour for, like, whatever, basically my whole life. And so seeing those injuries, like, someone fall off a building or whatever, you're like, shoot, they're going to be really injured. And normally it wasn't. In this case, this was the first time I, like, had saw or been around someone coughing up blood. So I was like, oh, this is real. Turns out, it's not as real as you think. The doctor acted like it wasn't as bad as you think. So I guess I did become the lucky duck in that situation. But
Yeah, because you just got up, you smashed into a wall at like 50 miles an hour, and then got up and we were like running over. You're like, I'm good. We're like, oh sweet, and then like 10 seconds later, you're like, oh, not good. Look over, you just coughed up a bunch
We
of
should
blood.
break down the whole situation for the people listening because
that sounds crazier than it was.
Because we rented out the local speedway, which is just a circle track, cement with cement walls all the way around it, and there was ice all over the track,
Snow,
but especially on the edges.
Yep.
And so Sam's opening it up on the Camaro for like the first time ever we've tested it at this speed. It handles terribly. Like you can't even describe how hard this thing is to drive and how it handles. He goes a little bit too fast in this corner, so he hits the snow patch.
Well, back up for a second. While he's going around the corner, it's on 2 wheels. Because it's narrow enough that if you take a corner hard enough, it has enough grip to just get up onto 2 wheels. So he's like trying not to tip over and still go around the corner.
Which you've kind of already been doing throughout the day.
Yeah,
it seemed like you were getting a handle on it.
And that's what I thought too. I thought if I enter this corner fast, I'll widen it. And I entered it so fast, I widened, and at some point I knew like that snow's mine now.
Yeah.
And that's what happened. So then I went basically no choice. You either try to steer tighter and roll, which sounded pretty miserable, or you just go with it, and that's what happened. I hit my back tires, clipped the snow patch, and of course there's no recovery. Basically, it slid into the wall, and it flipped. So I'm going on the right corner, and it flips up to the left side. And then I essentially just got smashed into the wall, sandwiched by the Camaro into the wall.
It spun around, and the back of it hit first, and then it flipped up and smacked you in the wall.
Yeah, and then it bounced off of kind of the tire in me, and then I landed back in it. I fall back out the opposite side, so my legs are in it, and I'm sliding backwards. And at that point, it was like, oh, this is it went way better than I imagined. This is really good. So I get up stoked. I'm like, oh, I'm fine. Wave my arms, and then it kicks in, and I'm like, no, I'm not fine. I'm not fine.
And started coughing up blood.
Yeah.
And in the end, super fine.
It was such a roller coaster. Just seeing it from the angle where basically everyone was standing, it just looks like the Camaro car just pancaked you completely against the wall, but you were in seating position. So neck, back, not a good situation.
Yeah.
And then, so it looked like you just died. And then we all run up and you're like, woo! And I was like, yeah! And then you started coughing up blood and then it just went straight back down.
We should point out, I think it would have been way worse if I wasn't in full race gear.
Yeah.
I had the race jacket, the carbon fiber shoulder pads, the helmet, the neck pad on the back, all that
The helmet that I still wear to this day.
Yeah. We joke that the helmet's blood helmet now, because the first thing I did when I realized I'm not fine, I coughed, and then blood goes all over the inside of the helmet. And
It's been washed.
Yeah, it's been washed, so that's definitely the blood helmet. That's its name. But yeah, so I had all the gear on. The gear really helped. I would have I hit my back, my shoulder. That would have hurt super bad. The carbon fiber just barely got scratched up.
Yeah.
I would have got a lot of road rash. Would have been 100 times worse without that.
Yeah, you had the Alpine Star, jean,
everything.
motocross.
And I was sliding on my back after I hit the wall. It's still a decent distance, so that alone was pretty good.
You slid for.
Yeah.
In the
Maybe
snow,
we should
too.
show the clip in this podcast. I was worried that the video might get demonetized if we put it in the original race video.
This is nothing, dude. We're
Yeah.
going to throw it in
Yeah, we'll throw it in here. If it gets demonetized, whatever.
By the time it gets demonetized, it'll have already had all the views it's going to get in the first place.
And I'm 200% fine, so don't feel bad watching it. You can watch me slap the wall at 40, nothing bad.
Yeah. Man, that was a wild one.
Yeah.
For real.
So yeah, I guess when you're oh, you've rolled everything else, my brain just blocks out anything that's not medium to large size.
Yeah. Yeah, you've rolled the Camaro Sendy at least a couple of times.
Sendy, yeah, a lot.
Chris's Gravedigger, that quad. You almost rolled Steve's Land Rover.
That's a 0.5 for sure.
Those were all in a row. That was so
all
much
one
fun.
day.
That was maybe one of the most fun trips we've had with Grindhard so far was the Power Wheels Overland
That was pretty
Adventure.
good.
We just got so many cool people out here all together. Everything went pretty well for the first morning.
Yeah, we should do that again, but the sand pit we did, the Colonel Sanders full send, we should camp there.
Yeah,
because that's a perfect place to play around and do stupid stuff instead of on top of a mountain.
We're not.
Oh, we didn't go that day. I'm what sand pit?
You weren't there. Yeah.
No. It's a really fun sand pit though. But I mean, everything about that trip was awesome.
Oh yeah. Despite all the failures, or because of it.
We got to finally hang out with Chris for the first time.
Yeah.
And then just seeing both Gravediggers, Steve's stuff, our stuff, all together. Like, that was so much
You know what was
fun.
super cool to me is not just seeing that other people built the stuff and brought it out, but how well it worked. Like, in the different takes. Everyone's
Totally
build was
different.
completely different. And, like, they have their weak points, too, but it seemed like, they all fared well. And that was like, wow, like, this is, like, a thing now. Like, I've seen comments, or, like, we've talked about it, like, oh, you can make some sort of, like, race out of it where people build these and race them.
Yeah.
And, like, that could be legit now.
Yeah,
Right? Like,
it could
people
be.
are
There's
doing it,
so
and it
many-
worked well.
Yeah.
We just started a fan submission thing. We've only advertised it on Facebook because we're worried we'll get too many submissions if we talk about it on YouTube. But here it is on YouTube, so.
Well, this is a good one. This is a small portion of
And
YouTube.
I'm
Yeah.
hearing about it, so keep going. What is it?
So on our site now, there's like a submission where you can submit something you've built.
Like just pictures.
And then once a week on Facebook and Instagram, we're going to make a blog post about, have them write up a couple paragraphs, and then we'll share the pictures on Facebook and Instagram and say, this guy built this thing, it's really cool.
I like it a lot.
Do like
We
a
already
feature
got
on-
like, probably like just one Facebook post, we probably already got like 800 submissions.
Holy
of
crap.
really cool
I didn't know we had
stuff.
that
People
many.
are building
Yeah.
stuff, and that's
No.
just the people willing to submit.
Yeah, and that's just the ones
Who saw it on Facebook.
Yeah, who saw
And a
it.
lot of them are really interesting, good Power Wheels. Like, Em started a whole new email account just for these, and it's really cool what people are doing. And there's a bunch of, like, beer cooler four-wheelers and
We
stuff
should
like
build a
that.
motorized cooler at some
Yeah,
point.
that would be really
But like
cool.
a really good
We know
one.
what cooler can take it.
Yeah, the Yeti cooler that flipped out of the freaking out of the overland
Oh,
trailer.
that's another thing we missed on camera.
Oh,
I
that
was
was sad.
right behind Gravedigger pulling the overland trailer with the giant cooler full of stuff.
Completely full.
Completely full. And when that
We did not drink
trailer
all of the beer.
flipped, all I saw, when that trailer flipped, like, it was just dust cloud behind Gravedigger, obviously. I'm in the Barbie Jeep. The brakes are already basically not working at all. All I see is giant cooler flying out of the sky towards me, like, well above my head. And I was like, uh-oh. Not a lot I could do, but luckily I was able to swerve around it and stuff. But that would have been one of the crazier, just unpredictable moments to get on the GoPro ever. But we
Never
were out
tried
there
it.
for a while and didn't have any batteries. And since then, we've bought a lot of GoPro batteries.
Yeah, I was gonna say now we try to just have them rolling all the
Yeah, I
time.
was gonna
Yeah.
say round 2, we just need like double the cameras.
Oh, yeah,
to
for
catch
sure.
freak accidents.
Oh, that
like
stuff, yeah.
Because stuff is gonna happen.
Or-
We've got like
yeah.
8 or 6, 5? How many Power Wheels we have?
We had
Enough, dude.
five. Because R2,
Yeah.
Gravedigger,
So
yeah,
five,
five.
5 Power Wheels and 2 4-wheelers with that crowd. Stuff is just gonna happen that you can't predict.
Absolutely.
Yeah, next year's overland trip we'll plan. I won't pick the most difficult mountain to get to, like, and we also won't bring a trailer that weighs like 1,000 pounds behind something that weighs
And
600.
if you do, could we get better tires?
Yeah,
Those
yeah.
snowblower tires didn't do
Better
their trick.
tires. Dude,
Yeah.
we keep circling back, but so you talked about the cars, you don't have any crazy things like that, but like, I know at one point the scooter ate your leg, dude. So you have to have flipped, you flipped Sendy.
Oh yeah, I think I was the first one to flip Cindy.
No,
I flipped Cindy down the rock.
down
pile.
in the sand pit. I think that
So
was.
maybe one
I
of
think
the
that was.
worst flips.
Yeah, that was yeah.
I think that was just after I flipped it and burnt my hand on it.
Oh,
I think it was
okay.
around the same time.
Maybe
It's
I
not
got
letting you get the
seconds.
first flip on
I
this
mean,
one.
maybe it was first, but it was around the same time. It was yeah.
So you
I think I'm
flipped
the
that.
only person who flipped the first Mustang. I rolled it completely off the road in one of
Yeah.
our first videos.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
I didn't realize that like a little bit of brake on that caliper is made for something a lot heavier than that.
It still had 2 calipers at that
Yeah.
point. It still had a
a
double.
little brake feather and just locked up, rolled completely off the highway.
That was like, really close to the
Yeah.
start.
I was wearing
Yeah.
sandals.
Yeah, that was a good one.
I was
was-
wearing my helmet though, thankfully.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
that one was like a whip lasher.
I think you were wearing my helmet. That black one.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Was
Black
that
street
blood
helmet. No, there's no blood in that one.
Yeah, that was crazy. And then that snowmobile scooter bike is the hardest thing to drive. And
We joke
before
about it
I
all
had
the
the
time.
clutch guard just going up the hill, because that's kind of like the only thing you can do with it is like go up hills. It doesn't turn very well, and going fast really straight, it's pretty dang good at.
Yeah, you
And,
can drift it in the right
yeah.
situations. It drifts very well.
Yeah, Ethan was like, "You'll be fine. Just don't put your foot down." And then I think he even said it twice, like, "Yeah, just make sure you don't put your foot down."
Yeah.
And just from riding dirt bikes my whole life, I get to the top of the hill and I'm like, gonna turn, and so you just stick your leg out a little bit and boom. So the snowmobile clutch, it has 3 kind of points that attach, and those attachment points just hit your leg repeatedly like a chainsaw at, what's the RPM that thing spins?
I mean, anywhere from like, 1,000 at idle to 7,500 at redline. So it's probably like 4,000 or 5,000 RPM.
We did the math at some point, but when my leg just touched it for half a second, that's still a lot of times being punched over and over and over again. And so I think the first thing I yelled, it was by far the most pain I've ever been in. When I broke my leg on my dirt bike, it was nowhere close. Like
That's crazy.
I don't even know why it hurt so bad, but when I got up to the top, it was just like, the second I did it, I thought, like, I'm such an idiot. And just, like, my whole body, like, it wasn't just that point. Like, my body just, like, went into shock or something.
Yeah.
It just was like, ugh, don't do that, you idiot. And I was, like, kind of hobbling around, and Ethan was like, I said not to put your leg down. I was like, I feel like I just got punched by Jesus.
Yeah, like, I came up and I was, like, expecting to see, like I saw your pants were all torn. Yeah. And what happened, I was expecting to see just, like, mass amounts of blood. And, like, I came over and I was like, oh, are you okay? And you're like, oh, yeah, like, obviously you were in pain, but, like, I saw your leg and it looked like just a rug burn. Yeah. So I was like, oh, it's really not that bad. Like, obviously pain, but, like, not bad. Yeah. And so I was kind of, like, laughing at it, and then I was like, dude, why did you put your leg down? Yeah. And then the feel like you got punched by Jesus comment.
Yeah, and that we put in the video, because it was an honest reaction. That's just how I felt at that moment. Yeah. And then our homie Ahem Lone Frog, he's been commenting on our videos forever, and there's a lot of people who've been doing that, but...
Clearly he's been commenting forever, because that was way back at the beginning.
So with the best comment thread we've ever had, we actually want to make a shirt out of it, is someone was making fun of Sam for rolling everything, right? Yeah. Is that how this started?
Yeah. Yeah. And then Lone Frog jumped into this, like, comment thing and was like, I mean, you have some comment about, like, Sam's gonna roll it, like, you just have to expect that or something. And then somebody else, like, the original poster was like, oh yeah, I don't like Sam. And then Lone Frog
was like disrespectful or something.
Yeah, that you roll everyone's product.
Oh yeah, we did right. And then Lone Frog was like, "Oh no, I think Sam's pretty chill." And he said,
besides,
what do you say?
Like, One Punch Jesus and
Iron Fist. I don't know how I got the nickname Iron Fist, but Lone Frog nicknamed Edwin One Punch Jesus at the time, like when that video came out.
Yeah,
he commented something like One Punch Jesus, and then so he comments in this thread. He's like, Iron Fist and One Punch Jesus wouldn't grind with just any roly-poly. Which has just so many levels of hilarity. Yeah. And it took us a minute to get it. We're like, who the heck is this? What is this?
I had to bring it to you guys.
Yeah.
I didn't understand any of these stories. I didn't know he was One Punch Jesus. So
I still don't know why I'm Iron Fist.
Yeah, I didn't know. So I read this comment, and I know who I am because of the context. But I was like, who is One Punch Jesus and Iron Fist in this situation? Oh, shoot. It's a good comment.
If Lone Frog is watching this, let us know why Ethan is Iron Fist, and we'll pin the comment so everyone can see.
Yeah. But, yeah, it's extra funny because he used the term roly-poly for Sam, because Sam flips everything. I mean, that could be obvious, but it's just hilarious.
Well thought out. The whole thing was fantastic. Thanks for standing up for me. It's awesome.
Yeah. And eventually we want to build a new garage, and we just want a whole wall where we print out the best comments just as big as possible, and then we'll just have a wall of, like, awesome comments, because we're at a point where, like, there's too many comments for us to respond to everything, but we do really go through and read, like, almost all of them, especially if the video's only been out for, like, a couple weeks. Like, we really dig through those comments, and then for older videos, we go in and check out if there's a new top comment or something, so we do dig through that. And, like, this thread was so good, we wanted to make, like, a limited edition shirt out of it. We were so excited.
It just says...
The whole thread, just a shirt.
Also, I brought this up about Edwin having a quote, like a U shirt, and we need a quote for Ethan, dude. I'm sure some of you guys know something that his
something that I say all the time.
What's his U, right?
Right,
yeah. I think in the last few videos, the top comment was, there should be a drinking game, like, every time Ethan says it's almost finished. And I didn't watch through the video to see how many times, but...
I didn't know that's a lot.
Yeah.
But that's not like... I mean, it would be kind of funny, but not that funny.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
There was one where someone counted how many times you said shaft. I forget
Oh
what it
yeah,
was.
that was
But
hilarious.
you built so many shafts in one video.
Yeah, that was the drive shaft video for the Colonel. I was building multiple drive shafts out of multiple pieces of drive shaft. So there's a lot of shafts to talk about.
Yeah, no line. Yeah, we gotta.
So that could just be it. My show just says shaft and then just quote shaft.
Shoot, that's all we need. We got some pretty exciting stuff going on in the garage today, actually. Sam's kind of the Rotary guru now.
Oh, yeah.
He watched 2 YouTube videos and now he knows way more than the rest of us.
I'll correct you there. I watched part of
your
YouTube videos.
At 3x speed, yeah.
Oh, it's just pan through a little bit. You just need to know where the pieces go and you're set, dude. But yeah, so we got this Rotary put back together, got the transmission bolted up.
But you can break it down more than that.
Yeah, like
take us to the beginning because we haven't talked about any of
Take
this.
us to the beginning.
I'll talk about like where we got it from.
Okay.
Yeah, dude.
So, our friend William, I guess he goes by Will now. I've known him since he was a really little kid, so I know him as William. Anyway, he lives up the road and he's getting into cars. He traded a motorcycle for an RX-7, and the RX-7 came with a couple of Rotary engines completely disassembled in parts. So he's LS swapping the RX-7, so he asked if we wanted the 13B that came out of this car and the transmission that goes with it. I was like, yeah, sweet, we'll build something with it. But it was literally completely disassembled in like 5 different boxes of parts that are all like scattered around inside the back of the car. So that's how we got this engine, and we had no idea if we even had all the parts.
Yeah.
And then we knew it was small, and we had the transmission.
Yep, which is super light.
Drift trike seemed to be the obvious thing to do.
Well, we've been talking about building a stupid drift trike out of an engine for a while, like
an
using
off-road one with independent suspension.
Yeah, but using like a car engine and transmission combo, and like at one point we were talking about like a V12 drift trike. Like we just had like just various ideas of how it'd be hilarious to just build a drift trike around an engine. So it's like all engine. Handlebars, wheels, that's it, you know.
The V12 would be like cool like from far, but like the Rotary with how light it is, how high the RPMs are, and then the power, like it's gonna be super sweet. It's the right choice. For sure. So I get this box of parts. Thankfully he like labeled most of the stuff. So whoever did this did like a semi-legit job at like writing the bolts and, you know, zip tying some stuff together. And I've built like a lot of motors to put them back together. This is just a different configuration, you know, missing a few parts like rods and stuff. But other than that, it was just a pan through on the video. I kind of had an idea of how it worked, and just started putting pieces on and then getting them wrong and going, that's not how that works. Taking it back apart a little bit there.
And being like, oh, we don't have those parts.
Yeah, that's
go dig around some
of
more.
That too is like, oh, there should be this part and it's not here. It turns out we had all the parts, which is pretty amazing to put it back together.
Except for the seals.
Yeah, minus the seals. So in the time lapse, I'm sure people are going to notice me assembling this motor. I like cleaning it really good and then assembling it with absolutely no seals. So it felt weird, but yeah, we'll take it apart and put seals back in it. So now that it's back together though, we're going to build this drift trike and it's going to be super fun. Initially, it was like, oh, we should do the drift trike. And I thought this would be something that, like, you know, I just drove. But now I'm getting stoked on helping build it. It's going to be a pretty cool, like, different project. The cop car was like stuff we already did. This is like completely different.
Now you're going to be breaking new ground.
Completely different, yeah. And then I feel like it's also as abstract as like, I mean, people do drift trikes, but it's like the mower build. Like, because it's a different take on a trike, right?
Oh, yeah.
Mower's a mower build, but it's a very different take on the mower build. So these even feel like out of the box in their category of like the mower or the drift trike, which will make it even more fun to really put them head to head and drag them.
I was thinking about this drift trike thing. And I realized that, like, in most every way, it's essentially like a Harley trike. Like, you know the stupid trikes that's like a Harley, they put 2 wheels in the back? Like, there's people that build those with, like, Volkswagen engines and stuff all the time. Well, I don't know about all the time, but, like, they're common. You see them driving down the road, and they're just absolutely pointless and stupid. And then, like, just if you saw it out in a parking lot, that's what you'd see it as. But, like, because we're calling it a drift trike and because drift trikes are popular these days, it's something totally different. And we're going to build it to be low, wide, stable, and off-road and drifty.
Yeah.
Like, it's not going to have a ton of suspension because we want it to be low, but it's going to have enough to be like, you can drive it off-road because we have off-road.
You know what would be sick is because it will be somewhat reliable, right? And it will have,
I mean...
yeah, you know, ish. It should be to do like the gambler, dude. Bring it out to the gambler.
Yeah, I mean, get a VIN number from something and
Yeah.
get a title for it. Yeah,
That'd be so fun.
That would be awesome.
we should get
You
it
just need like
registered.
a literal air mask or something.
No, it'd be better. Well, it'd be better in a lot of ways though, because the problem in the car is all the dust comes in and then just
inside.
rolls around. But if you just have a little dust mask,
Yeah.
you'd be just zipping through the dust.
Man, if we could get a good rain before Gambler next year, that would be something.
Well, we also have a very difficult decision to make this year, and that's do we go to Gambler or do we go to Pikes Peak? Because they're happening at the exact same time, and we have invites to both.
That is unfortunate.
Pikes Peak.
Yeah, Pikes Peak. We've done Gambler a couple times now.
But my brain's like, you know what would be dope for Gambler? You build like a super cool, I don't know, fire truck? No, I'm kidding. Something with water, and then that just paces a half mile down in front of you. It's just
set up the fire truck with just like a really like not enough to like settle all the dust, but just like a mister.
Yeah.
So it just takes the dust out of the air. Like
yeah.
I mean, it has like a
fun.
600-gallon water tank.
We just go through Gambler Town and just whoosh.
We bring the water truck to Gambler Town. That'd be hilarious.
People would love it.
I had a dream that we took the fire truck to Gambler.
Really?
Yeah, and then it turned really dark and you died.
Oh shoot!
You started a
Whoa! Did I flip the fire?
No, you started a fight with some random dudes and they killed you.
Yeah. And you guys didn't save me or back me up?
I don't remember how it went down. I just remember it was a dream about trying to get to Gambler in the fire truck, and it was the usual like shenanigans you'd have trying to get to Gambler. Like everything was breaking down.
So what else is going on in the garage? Ethan, what are you working on the mower today?
Not a lot really. We're just waiting on parts for the engine to put it back together. I might work on a few little things on it, but really we're just gotta get all the parts to put the engine back together and then try to get that running. I mean, there's a lot of other stuff to do too. Like we don't have any control systems yet except for the steering wheel, so we gotta have brakes, clutch, throttle.
Yeah.
We'll have to order a throttle because we're going drive-by-wire on that. So we'll have to get that ordered up, which will be really cool. No throttle linkages. You just plug it in.
You're like literally making the 2JZ like good.
Yeah, we are.
Like,
yeah, we're going individual coils, no distributor. We've got an intake that's set up for turbo, so we'll probably go turbo eventually. Yeah. We're getting the Haltech ECU to run it.
That'll clean it up a lot.
And we're rebuilding the engine. Like initially, the plan was just to like get it running and just kind of use it as is, but then that engine was seized because we're stupid and left it out in the rain too many times. We never intended to do that.
Did you ever check it when you got it?
No.
Was it? No. It could have been.
It could have been, but it had been stored inside at least up until we got it. And then we stored it inside for like a whole winter, and then we put it outside in the spring because we knew we weren't working on it. We had a tarp on it, and the tarp just blew off in a rainstorm, and then after that we stopped caring really whether it got water in it or not.
Yeah, I remember I was out there and with the air compressor and I blew out all the cylinders and then put a tarp back over it, and that lasted like a couple days. And
yeah. So, but now we're putting new rings, new bearings in it, and we have 2 whole engines, so we're combining the best parts of both of them. We're gonna have a block that doesn't have a chunk broken off the back of it, and
it'll be better this way than it ever would have been.
Yeah, it'll be like actually good. And I mean, we'll have the Haltech ECU, so it'll be completely tunable. And I don't know how to tune engines, but plenty of people do, and so we can take it to a dyno, get it dyno tuned, and actually make like more power than it had stock, even without a turbo, because we'll have all the better parts and more tunability.
When we book the dyno appointment, we just shouldn't say anything. Be like, oh yeah, it's a 2J build, and then okay, cool. And then we just roll in with a tractor.
I said it was a 2J build. What do you think?
Yeah.
What were you expecting?
Yeah.
Did you see that engine? That's a 2J. What's your problem?
Typical.
Well, the sun's coming in and probably blowing out our faces.
Yeah.
It sounds like we got some work to do in a garage, so maybe that's a good place to call it.
It is.
Yeah, I was just looking at the camera screen over there, and my hair is now white.
Yeah.
I've gotten old real quick.
Good call. We do have a new giveaway going. When this goes live, it will be live. We're giving away another Rogue Fab tubing bender, which is an amazing tool. And this one you'll be receiving is even better than ours. It's got an updated degree dial. So, degree indicator. So, if you want to win that, I'll have a custom grind hard wrap, and all you have to do is head on over to our website. Every $5 spent on merch gets you an entry. We just happen to be all wearing the same shirt today.
Yep. We did not plan this.
We have more options than this available, So if you want to win, go check that out. And we're about to get Rotary drift triking and 2J-ing.
Yeah. And then maybe some snow quadding because...
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because it is nice outside, as you can probably tell by our white faces.
Yep.
Getting blown up by the sun.
Let's do it.
Let's do it.